Hello everyone, my name is Jessi Chardon. I'm a second year student at the Hague University of Applied Science. I study European Studies. And today I'm here to give you a presentation about the European Union and more precisely about its position in the world. And my presentation will take about 10 minutes of your time. If you have any question, please note them down so you can ask them after the presentation. My presentation will go along three main points, which are very simple. First, economic aspect, then the political, and to finish with the cultural aspect of the European Union. But first, I'd like to start my presentation with a question. Does any of you know what is the European's GDP? No? Can anyone give me a guess? Well, in 2012, the European GDP reached 16.6 trillion, meaning 16.6 billions of millions of US dollars. In the same year, in comparison, United States had a GDP of 15.6 trillion, and China had a GDP of 8.2 trillion. Sorry. So now I'd like to move on to my first point, to the economic aspect of the European Union. First, I'd like to talk to you about something about the European Union has, and it's a unique market. First of all, it has a single market, meaning that anyone, for instance, growing tomatoes as a company in Spain could export its tomatoes in any countries without any regards of the barriers or anything that could impede him in transporting those tomatoes over there. And it also combines a single currency, meaning that it's easier for a company in Spain to deal with a company in other countries, since they don't have to go through the barrier of the exchange of currency. The single currency doesn't comprise all the European countries, and you need to meet certain criteria to apply to the European currency. Actually, there are 17 countries in Europe that have the euro. And in addition, the European Union is the biggest single market in the world. There's other single markets in the world, such as the AFTA in Asia, where Asian countries have agreed for a single market, which means free trade between their countries. And Europe is the biggest single market in the world. Now I'd like to talk to you about the infrastructure of Europe. Europe has a very good system of infrastructure development. And it comprises canals, highway, and airports such as Frankfurt, and ports such as Rotterdam, which is the second biggest port in terms of trade in the world. And there are other ports such as the Rotterdam port in Europe, such as in France, like Marseille. And that sums up in the world that with only 7% of the population, the European Union accounts for about 20% of the global trades in the year. Here, with this map, we can see a map of interregional trade and intra-regional trade between different regions. Here you can see that Europe accounts for most of the trade intra-regional, meaning in between the regions, so in between the members. And as we can see, it deals trade with pretty much every region of the world. Give you 2 minutes to take a few notes if you want. And now I would like to pass on my second aspect of my presentation, the political aspect. So here we can see a picture of the G8. This was during one of their meetings, and the football's league was going on, so they actually watched it together. Here you can see the French president, François Hollande. This is the European Commission head, the head of the European Commission, Barroso. You can see Merkel, Barack Obama, which is, as you all know, president of the United States, and the UK Prime Minister over there. So first, I'd like to talk to you about the presence of the European Union as a whole, and as its members individually as well. The European Union is very important in the international level of decision making. It is part of many of many organizations in the world, and its members are also considered to be among the most powerful countries in the world, which is why they're in the G8 or G20s meeting. And a lot of members are also comprised in the NATO alliance, which is a military alliance between Europe and the North Americas. And in addition, many countries such as France, Germany, or the UK have a veto power in the UN Security Council, which is frequently referred to in the news and when big issues on an international level come up. And now I would like to talk to you about how do they agree on common goals for the Union as a whole. They do so through the Common Foreign and Security Policy. The Common Foreign and Security Policy takes place in the Council, and the actors of that policy includes the member states' ministers and the head of the member states. And they decide on common goals and point of view to pursue for the whole European Union on certain international issues, such as the Iran crisis regarding the nuclear project. But in the European Union, there is still a lack of political power, and there is a political crisis in the European Union. One of the problems of the European Union at the political level is the lack of legitimacy, and especially in the Parliament. The European Parliament has members directly elected from the people of the European Union, and however, there's very little participation in the voting process for those members, which undermines the legitimacy of the European Parliament. And as well, there is also a lot of Euroscepticism growing in Europe, which is basically losing trust in the European Union. And this can be understandable due to recent events, such as the economic crisis happening. Now, I would like to move on to my third point, the cultural aspect of the European Union. So first of all, I would like to talk to you about something, and this thing is the Western culture. Western culture is, as you may think, mainly Americanized. However, the Western culture comes from Europe. Europe is the birthplace of this same Western culture. There are a lot of values that Western culture has as its core, such as individuality and democracy and freedom of rights and such as. However, most of those core values stem from Europe. And for instance, democracy was born, as you may not know it, in ancient Greece, in Athens, where the first form of democratic government was formed. And nowadays, democracy is basically the role model for any government that is deemed to be good. And more importantly, the Enlightenment in Europe has given rise to the civil society and the human rights movement, which is widely praised among the countries in the world. In Europe, however, these, as you may be able to know it, the United States is known as the melted pot because it has a lot of different cultures, but is represented as one. Europe is rather similar to the United States, except that countries still have a national power. It has a shared culture as it is similar in the States. This is the Western one. However, they are very different from each country. And as well, the Western culture, as you know it, is widely spread throughout the world. Like fast food such as Domino's pizzas are pretty much everywhere in the world. However, pizzas is not actually from the States, which you all know is from Italy. And more importantly, the industry of culture is quite dominant. Is dominated by a lot of European companies. Fashion, for instance, you may all know it. There's a lot of brands coming from Europe that are very known in the world. It can go from luxury brands such as Louis Vuitton, Prada, and also as common brands such as H&M, Zara, and Mango, which are everywhere in the world. And I'd like to talk to you about the culture, as my last point, I'd like to talk to you about the culinary culture of many countries, such as France, Italy, or Spain, which is regarded as a very fine culture in the world. And as you can see, or you may not be able to see it that well, this is New York, and it's packed with Italian restaurants everywhere. This is Little Italy in New York. And that was one of the last slides of my presentation. And to sum it up, Europe is very important in the world on the international level. Economically wise, it is simply the biggest market and has the most money among every region of the world. It accounts for most of the trade and trades with everyone. Politically and culturally wise, the European Union is pretty much omnipresent on the international scene. Politically wise, it is present in all international organizations, except the ones that are specified for certain regions, such as ASEAN, where they have no right to say anything. And culturally wise, which the Europe, as we all know it, is the birthplace of the Western culture, which is widely spread among the world. Well, thank you for your time. That was the end of my presentation. Now, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.